Yes, artificial intelligence, or AI as we commonly know it. It's no secret that AI is everywhere, but in the world of broadcasting, it's not just present, it's a game changer. From automating the mundane tasks to bringing creative concepts to life, AI is doing it all. Let's start with content creation. Imagine scripts that adapt on the fly, stories that evolve based on or AI as we commonly know it. It's no secret that AI is everywhere, but in the world of broadcasting, it's not just present, it's a game changer. From automating the mundane tasks to bringing...
And welcome. This is OneStream Live. It is Wednesday. It is 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. in the UK. And I want to say hello and welcome to this live broadcast. Okay, let's go to me. Okay, think that the studio that I'm in, which is the OneStream Live studio, is becoming more and more sophisticated, and there's so many things I can do. And that basically, that intro there was from last week's show. This week's show is all about, if I go here and press that button, podcast hacks to hook listeners, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm just going to go over to the chat, and I'm going to connect the chat. So if you're watching live on YouTube at the moment, I'd like to say hello. And already coming in, let's catch up. We have comments coming in from, just a minute, I need my glasses for this. From Ellicott. Hello, welcome. And you are definitely the first person today. And hi. Thank you for watching live. If you've any questions, then please do ask and show. Okay, so thank you for the smiles as well. Okay, so let's come back to me. And Alec is in the house. So everybody's gathering at 10 a.m. Eastern, and Alec is here from Sweden. Alec, good to see you. Alec's here for 25 minutes. I'll try to fit everything in. What I'll do is I'll do the major things in the first 25 minutes, then you know what I'm talking about. Now, what we're going to look at, if I go down here and I take myself off solo, okay, is we're actually looking at, just waiting for this to happen, podcast hacks to hook listeners. But I suppose the first question is, and I'm going to go here, first question is, basically, why do people listen to podcasts? Why are podcasts important? Why should podcasts be part of your output in terms of social? I mean, we know the power of video, but there's also the power of audio. Now, a podcast is, or it was, a podcast was audio only. Now you've got video podcasts, which are videos, really. But why do people listen to podcasts? What's the reason that people listen to podcasts on a regular basis? Before we get to how to get people to listen, let's find out why people listen. Because if we understand a little bit about why people listen, then we're going to be in a better situation. So, why do people listen to podcasts? And basically, I've written down convenience and accessibility. You can listen to a podcast on your mobile phone. Simple and straightforward to do. You can listen to a podcast on your desktop. You can listen to a podcast on your television. You can listen to a podcast everywhere. The thing is, because I'm a great runner, well, not a great runner, a runner, people can take a podcast with them. Whether you're going out for a walk or whether you're going out for a run, a podcast can actually travel. And the question of the day, Alec, is audio, video podcast. That is the question. I mean, audio is the entrenched one. I mean, I know, and you possibly you do as well, Alex. I go to the BBC Sounds, and Sounds is full of podcasts. Yeah, most radio shows now are available as podcasts after the fact. It's a growth industry, and because we're live streaming, if we're able to separate the audio from the video, then we can create podcasts whilst we're broadcasting live. I'll give you, for instance, this is a true story. This Thursday, sees Blubbing for Britain, episode 420. And we've been broadcasting together for just over 8 years. And that's John in Solihull, Peter in Aberdeen. And we broadcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, anywhere that'll have us. And we are on video. Now, my good friend Ponce Chamberlain runs a radio station. And that radio station, he decided needed a podcast on it. And he suggested to me that Blubbing for Britain might well become a podcast on Royston. Now, Royston Radio is situated down in Cambridgeshire and Hertfordshire, sorry. I always get that wrong. Ponce is from Cambridge, the radio station's in Hertfordshire. These are sort of south of England. And he suggested that the show that we did every Thursday morning could be played on the radio without us. And that's possibly a good, it gives a new audience, because basically podcasting gives you a totally new audience. If people are listening to you on the radio, they don't have to see and watch a video. They're actually just listening. And that's a key feature. And then the other factor is that as I'm actually, at the end of every broadcast, I download the MP3, the audio, and I send it to Fonz. But before doing that, I record it on my hard drive. So the recording is on my hard drive and sent to Fonz, and it then goes on the radio on Fridays. Now, I thought to myself, if it's going on the radio, it could have all been a podcast in its own right. So on Spotify, it is a podcast and it goes out as a podcast, and we've been doing that for some time. So you can repurpose normal video broadcasts, and they can either go on a radio station and you can get syndicated to a radio station, or you can create a podcast from it simply by stripping the audio out and sending the audio to Spotify. And from Spotify, it can go out to, it can go out anywhere and everywhere, including Apple. It broadens your audience. I mean, the thing about Blubbing for Britain is that, and Alex saying, I listen to videos as audio when on my daily walk. It is a podcast. That's it. That's the definition of a podcast. Is well, probably by the end of this discussion, I'll come up with a definition of a podcast. But essentially, it starts as audio only, so you don't have to concentrate on the screen. You can put your headphones on. Quick advert for Aftershocks Air Effects. You can put your headphones on like so, and you can dial in to BBC Sounds, so give them a shout out, or to any radio station. You can dial in anywhere and you can listen to a podcast as you're out and about. So that's a practical application of podcasts. Okay, and Alec uses the podcast. I don't think he listens to Blubbing for Britain, but I mean, I don't blame you, really. Okay, so let's go back, take me off full screen, and let's go back to why do people listen to podcasts. And it is basically all about convenience. I'm going to put this full screen so you can see it, because I know Alec is on his phone. So we're going to put it full screen and go, just a minute, this is a slight adjustment, and I'm going to go there so you know what you're watching, and I'm going to go here so this is full screen, and it means that Alec can read it and I can read it. And I need to just switch something over. Just give me a second. This is a very active broadcast for which I'm grateful, and I'm just going to go full screen again. Okay, so why do people listen to podcasts? If we understand why people listen to podcasts, then we know whether we can actually get involved, and then we decide what we need to do. So, convenience. As Alex said, out on his walks, he can take a podcast with him or several podcasts and listen. Podcasts are on diverse topics. There are podcasts about everything under the sun, topics and interests. It's got to be something. If you go to Google and you search for a podcast on tennis, then it will give you a list of everybody who broadcasts tennis podcasts. If you go for UK politics, it'll give you a list for UK politics broadcasts. If you go for tech, then you've got an endless supply of podcasts. We don't just use Overtonic. And right, a question. So YouTube podcasts, are they vidcasts? Yes, they are. I think it's a grey area. When does a podcast become a vidcast or videocast? And Alec is saying it's actually on the PC today. So I'll still keep it big so we can both read it anyway. Okay. So a vast, diverse series of topics and interests. The next thing is education and learning. Basically, people, because if you're out and about and walking, you want to entertain yourself, but you also want to learn. And there are, again, I'm coming from the BBC end of things. There are some great historical podcasts which are available to us. And it's just there, and this should work smoothly. Let's go try again. Yeah. Just a second. Oh, right. Okay. I got there in the end. Okay. Education and learning. Again, there are educational podcasts covering education itself, covering the arts, covering history. You can learn whilst you're on the move. Entertainment podcasts. There are, of course, music podcasts, which are sometimes repurposed radio shows. And then it's a great way of connecting and community. Now, I've just got to tell you, I'm a fan of a lady called Susie Quattro. And happy birthday to Susie Quattro. She was 74 yesterday. But she puts out, she's got a community on Facebook. Not only just a Facebook group, but she posts every single day. And it's a daily diary in essence. But you can create a community around a podcast or around a video or around your music. And basically you can get more and more people involved. Now, one of the major things that podcasts are used for are personal development. If I want to learn about something, then the easiest way to do it without that can concentrate on it, because I've got my headphones on, is personal development. Okay, and we're going to go here from anything by Tony Robbins up to anything by my friends who are NLP specialists. I tend to listen to those on the go. Right, okay, now podcast is free. Not all podcasts are free, but many podcasts are free. So what you're actually getting is free entertainment or education, a connection to the author of the podcast. Do we say broadcaster or author? Author of the podcast. And personal development, free content. Free content, majority of podcasts are free. They're free to air, and you just basically sign up, which is only fair, so that people know how many followers they've got. It is important to sign up to a podcast. When you start listening to a podcast and you enjoy it, do sign up, because every person who signs up becomes part of the audience, and the audience, not on a one-to-one basis, but on a group basis, can be used to actually market the podcast. So one of the favorite questions people ask, how many people listen to your podcast? And we as individuals are interested, but marketers are interested as well. And one thing about podcasts is once they are it's free to at the point of delivery, they can be sponsored. So you can use podcasts as a sponsorship vehicle. Now, I'm a great believer in storytelling. If you've got anything to say, then a podcast is the place to say it. A couple of years ago, I had a podcast. It's now part of Spotify, but it used to be on its own. And I had a podcast which ran for about 8 weeks. And I was telling stories. I was telling stories about basically technology. And I'm thinking about starting that again. And I'm looking at a new, well, to me, it's new piece of software to allow me to do that. Because the thing is that I just want to make a point here, and just to what Alex said earlier, there are podcasters and there are professional podcasters. It is an industry, a profession. Podcasters are professionals. And in their terms, what they need is the best quality sound. Now, the actual quality of the sound is determined by how good the, well, it's 64 or 128. You need to have around between 64 and 128. 64, 96, 128, you can see yeah. A 32 podcast is not good enough quality to actually get people to listen. So you need good quality sound, which means you need a good microphone. I'll come back to that one in a moment. But podcasting is a serious profession at that, with sponsors and subscribers. I'm going to go off there, back to here. News and current events. Basically, the news networks now have joined in the podcast podcast way of doing things, and most news broadcasts are now available as podcasts on replay. Yeah, Sky do a videocast or vidcast. Is it vidcast or videocast? I'll go with vidcast. I like that word. So news and current events, basically keeping up to date. Though a podcast would tend to be, rather than up to the minute, it would tend to be on the day, unless, of course, it was a live podcast. All sorts of possibilities here. And it comes down at the end of the day to the ease of use and access. You can have your podcast on, well, I'm going to say hundreds, which is true, on all the major podcasting networks, and they will be hosted for free. So podcasting, you can get sponsors and you can reach a wider audience. As I said, with Blabbing for Britain, we broadcast live on video, and then the recording is syndicated to Royston Radio, run by my good friend Franz Chamberlain, and then it becomes a podcast on Spotify. Since I started researching this topic, I've become more, well, I'm going to do more. I might even do a podcast, a new podcast. I'm looking, is it Riverside? I think I'm looking at the Riverside system to get the high quality audio. With video, basically you can get you download the video, and you can then use a piece of software to actually separate the audio from the combined, and that just gives you an MP3. That MP3 you can then upload to Spotify, which is the simplest way of doing it, for free. And then you've got to grow your audience much in the same way as you do with video. But you can do it for free. Everything we've talked about so far doesn't cost anything other than your time. Okay, if you get into it seriously, then you need to have, we need to upgrade, as in most things. Try it out for free and then upgrade. Okay, so now that we know why people listen And these are strong reasons because there are millions of people listening to podcasts every single day on their mobile phones, on desktop. We can now set about a podcast is podcast is an audio recording readily available which people can listen to on their mobile phones. That's the first definition we've got, and we'll probably come up with a few more before the end of this broadcast. You're listening to Stephen, and we're talking about podcast hacks to hook listeners, and this is on the OneStream Live YouTube channel. This is a live show. Later today, this video will be repurposed and broadcast at 2 p.m. Eastern to all my social media networks because it's being recorded and it's being stored by OneStream Live, and that's one of the major reasons I use OneStream Live. From Eastern today, I'm going to take this recording and send it out to 15 different destinations. Yeah, you, if you've got a wider social network than I have, can send it out to up to 45 destinations. OneStream Live allows you to go live from your studio, to go live with pre-recorded video, or to bring in OBS or XSplit and use those as your studio. So you can bring your favorite studio into OneStream Live and go live. New thing today, which is announced, is I can actually raise my hand. Now, I don't know whether you can see it. My hand is raised. I'm just investigating these. The other thing I've got, if I go here, is I can actually send hearts. There should be a heart from me. Okay. It's everything happens. This is, well, it's a good addition, I think, because I can give hearts, give a thumbs up, everything to help promote the broadcast. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over from that card to this card. So we've looked at why people listen, why millions of people listen to podcasts. We've looked at what they're looking for, and we're now going to switch over, and I'm going to put it there. It's basically, if I put that full screen for a moment, what we're going to switch to talking about now is how to create an engaging podcast episode. So we know why people listen. Now we've got to decide what we're going to do. And basically, you can create a podcast. You can create a podcast on any topic at all. An idea came to me today. I've got many friends I've made through broadcasting. Is for a podcast involving probably 5 or 6 of us, just for 30 minutes, once a week, talking about what's happening in broadcasting. And that would work. And Alex seen the new feature as well, which is, let's remind ourselves, especially on a webinar, ability to raise your hand, which is what I'm doing now. So you've got people in, and they're doing, you're doing a multi-person presentation. Then if somebody wants to speak, they just need to click that. And if somebody likes what you're saying, then you can send in a reaction. And that will appear in a minute on the screen, and it shows who the reaction is from. And I shall pass your comment on, Alec, although I do know that we're actually watched by OneStream, and your comment will be seen by OneStream. So thank you very much for that. I was heartened today. I was talking to Joe Shepherd, and Joe's talking to OneStream. So OneStream, if you're listening, I'm with Joe on everything that he says. And question from Alec. Right, okay. Yeah, you would have an intro. It's basically, I go through the options. First of all, you need to go out at a regular time. If you've got a podcast that goes out at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, then it's stuck every Wednesday and it goes out. Okay. Now, essential ingredients are the jingle, the music, the voice at the beginning, And it is good if the voice isn't your own, because then it sounds totally different. Now, I found a piece of software the other day, which I think I talked about last week, Murph. And Murph will take your text, turn it into speech in any voice that you like, and then you could put it into a video and put music on there, all sorts of things. But a jingle, you've got to have something at the beginning of a podcast which people recognize. A signature tune would be, it's basically just so that people are familiar with it. And it brings back memories of your previous shows. And wherever you play the jingle, people know the podcast you're talking about. So each podcast needs its own jingle. Good point, Ali. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. No, I didn't want to press the wrong button there. Just give me a second while I adjust the set. And I'm going to go and I'm going to take myself off solo. Okay, and I'm going to come back. And again, you're listening to. This is exciting. Hopefully this will work. I think what I need to do at this stage is just I want to close the tab. Okay, so I closed the tab. I'm now back. And jingles. Yes, you need a jingle at the beginning. And you need a tune at the end. It could be the same one, but a jingle is good. Right. Now, we've talked about why, and now know your audience. You've got to decide who your audience are. If you are speaking to a young audience, then you've got to tailor everything you do to your younger audience. If you're speaking to an older audience, and we're going to go in between the middle age, decide who your audience are, the type of people you want to listen, the type of people who are interested in what you're interested in. Yeah, what you're actually doing is sharing knowledge and expertise without the video. You're just sharing on audio. And that's basically reach a wider audience and just get the message out. Tell your stories. Educate people, entertain people, inform people through the medium of podcast. As I said, it's simplest. You could do a video first, then create the podcast. Or it can be a special one. And note from Alec. And Alec is saying, I've got to leave for a meeting. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you very much for joining, Alec. Enjoy your meeting. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just waiting for that. Oh, right. I think we're getting back to normal now. So know your audience. You need to tailor the content to the different audience. You can't. Some topics will lend themselves to everybody. If you're talking about the history of the Spanish, well, no, let's go there. If you're talking about the history of England, then your audience is anybody who's interested in the history of England. If you're talking about Brazil, your target audience is anybody who's interested in the history of Brazil. They also want to listen. Language is important as well, because whilst we're global, yeah, and if you do a broadcast in English, you're not going to reach everybody. So the broadcast that you do, my friend Marco speaks at least Portuguese and Spanish. You could do it, suit it to your audience and do it in a language. Yeah. So many options with this. Okay, I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see what we're doing. And now the other thing is that if you turn up and you're going to do a 30-minute podcast, you've got your microphone set up, you've got your recording equipment set up, do have, like I've got there, an agenda. Yeah, you need to plan your content. I knew today I would have two agendas. One, why do people listen to podcasts? Yeah, so we know why we're doing this, because hundreds of millions of people listen to podcasts. And the second is, how can we reach that audience? How can we put on the best product available? Yeah. Now, the thing is, you can talk about any topic, providing you're knowledgeable and providing you put together an agenda and actually talk step by step, lay out what you're going to talk about. So I know I'm going to talk about all these topics before we get to the end of this broadcast. If I run over, that's not a problem, but it is a problem if I run out. If I'd only got 4 headings on there instead of the number I've got, then I can run out of content. And in an audio podcast, what you don't want to do is run out of content. At the beginning of an audio podcast, what you want to do is, at the least, hello, this is Stephen. I'm talking about English history. These are the items I'm going to be talking about today. So people know exactly, because when people watch you on video, they can get a sense of you. When you're actually on audio only, you need to be clearer about who you are and what you're talking about. And if at the beginning of the podcast broadcast, you actually say what you're going to talk about, people can decide. The decision is simple. Do I want to carry on listening? Do I want to download it? Or do I skip to the next podcast? Now, the thing you've got to remember is we are, all of us, spoiled for choice in terms of podcasts. All the major broadcasting companies put out podcasts. All the radio stations put out podcasts. The competition is there, but the thing to remember, okay, there are 2 things which are important. Topic. In other words, people see a topic and say, right, that is of interest to me, okay, which is why you need a show card at the beginning. Even on a podcast, you need a card to say, this is who we are. And in Blowing for Britain, we've got a picture of the 3 of us. You need to have the marketing materials as well. You need, basically, because what's happening is people are deciding on the, if they see a topic they like, they will listen there and then, or download it, or save it for the future. People do a lot of saving for the future, because when you've got several podcasts that you're subscribed to, yeah, then you can listen to them anytime during the week, and you could binge listen. I mean, we binge watch Netflix videos, but you could binge listen podcasts and absorb them in that way. But you do need, I'm going to come to this in a minute. Podcast is the topic, and you. In audio, we count. We're everything. There's no picture to distract people. The only thing that's happening is our voice, which means that our voice has got to be able to command attention, to actually grab somebody and bring them in, and to make what we're talking about interesting. If I read from an auto cue, you'd know it. Yeah, because I'm the world's worst auto cue reader. I was asked the other day to do a promo for OneStream, and I'd do it on a mobile phone, and I had a script. I get tongue-tied when I've got a script, yeah, because you want to get it right. So basically, you cannot do a scripted podcast. I don't know anybody who does. It's got to be ad-libbed. It's got to be on topic, but it's got to be you, and you've got to leap out from the speakers and grab people's attention, which means, and the point I'm getting to here is that you don't want to broadcast monotone in mono. It's a stereo medium. Make the use of it. Throw your voice. Encourage people to listen. Be enthusiastic about what you're talking about. People buy into enthusiasm and optimism. Yeah. Certain topics not, but for most topics, enthusiasm and optimism are essential to a podcast, and they've got to be present in your voice. Okay, so next item. Okay. Right, and that's engaging content. I've done engaging content. I knew I'd take these out of order, so don't worry about it. We're going to cover everything, but I may take something out of sequence as it occurs to me. Right, so high quality production. Now, this is basically, normally, if you do a video presentation that I'm doing now, then the audio quality is okay, but it's not top quality. If I separate the audio from the video now, it's not top quality. It's good and it's listenable, but it's not the best quality that you can have. And to get the best quality you can have, you need an external microphone. I've got a Way 3. I've also got a Blue Yeti, and I've also got the Audio Technica. So I've got a choice of microphones. External microphone. Don't ever start a podcast without an external microphone, because people expect quality. They also expect to have basically a high rated. Yeah. Now, normally audio attached to a video is good, but if you're podcasting for real, professionally, then you need 128 dBs. I think I've got it wrong. I'm going to come back to that. I didn't actually check that out, but I know it goes from 64 to 96 to 128. Certainly in the radio world, and that is the quality of the actual broadcast itself. So you want the best microphone you can afford, and you want the best system that you can afford. Now, some systems, from professional systems, I'll just a bit about this, because I'm just about to. I was so taken that by the idea of podcasting that I've decided I'm going to do a new podcast with friends, and I'm going to be using a professional piece of software to do it. I won't name it, but basically, if I've got 4 people in the podcast, then the 4 voices are recorded in the cloud, and they're recorded locally, and everybody gets their own audio file. And that's the professional way to do it, because then if you've got 4 participants and 4 audio files, you can edit the broadcast, you can edit the podcast, and you can get very high quality. So very high quality is an important part of all this. Okay, and dynamic presentation. I've spoken to that. Basically, when you're presenting, as I'm presenting now, you've got to put life into it. And on audio, the only thing people can concentrate is you. So you want to have. I'll tell you what I do. Before I come live, I play rock music, and rock music gets me into the mood, in a good mood. So when I come live on OneStream Live on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I'm in the mood to broadcast. Simple as that. And that's because of the rock music. Now, we all have music we like. It could be classical, it could be country and western, but get yourself in a good mood so that when you do the podcast, then you're in the right place. And be dynamic. Now, the thing you can do with podcasting is offer value. Now, if you're doing education and training people, then you are giving value. By virtue of the fact that you're actually doing an educational broadcast, you are giving value. If you're doing a personal piece, which is an opinion piece, then you are, again, giving value. Anything that broadens people's horizons, makes people think. Yeah, if you can give people something to think about, in other words, what you want. Okay. At the end of the podcast, you want to call to action and say to people, right, okay, I'd love you to join me next week, same time, same place. In addition to that, I've got something that you might enjoy. If you go to this link, you'll find some free information which will help you. Giveaways. There's nothing, giveaways, basically what you want to do is you want to reward people who come and listen to you. You want to start to make this an interactive experience. So it's not just them listening to you. If you're running a Facebook group or you're running a Reddit, then you can get people in and get people involved. Okay. Consistency. If I do a podcast which I'm going to do, as you just found out. And I go live at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Nobody will know about it. And nobody will come back, because nobody knows when I'm going to broadcast again. Most successful podcasts are on a regular basis. Now, regular means on a weekly basis, same day, same time every week. So people can tune in live, or they can come and download it. That's the other thing about podcasts. They are downloadable to your phone. And podcasts can be saved on the phone and played at any time, just like Alec did when he was out for a walk. Podcasts are so versatile, more versatile than video. But do broadcast. Well, right, let's just clear this up. With this show goes out at 10 a.m. Eastern on a Wednesday. We know that. We've been doing this now for over a year. In fact, last week was celebrating 1 year of doing this. So thank you to OneStream Live and to everybody at OneStream Live for providing this platform and inviting me to present on here. I totally enjoy the experience. I'm learning all the time. This system just keeps getting better and better. And if you're looking for a system to broadcast from, to play pre-recorded content, to hook in your OBS studio, this is the place to be. OneStream Live. Okay, so I sometimes lose my way. Let's just go here. And I'm going to come back to me in a second, but I just want to go back to my menu. This is the other reason you've got an agenda. So if you forget what you're talking about, you can always go back to the agenda. Okay, so the fact that I go live at 10 a.m. Eastern every Wednesday is consistent. That's the consistency. And that's priceless, because if you know that a podcast is going to be available, most podcasts, I might put my foot in it here. Most podcasts are pre-recorded. The reason for this is that podcasts are about quality. In the same way that a video, an edited video, is about quality. It's about getting it right, getting the podcast right, getting the jingle music in the beginning, getting everything in order, getting everything perfect. It's a recorded medium. Podcasts are on demand. The recording is on demand. This is audio on demand. I don't know if there is an AOD anywhere. VOD is video on demand. So I'm going to declare AOD, audio on demand, or MP3s on demand, but that would be mad. Don't worry about it. Okay, so consistency. Do go live at the same time every week or the same time every month. There's nothing wrong with saying we're live the first Tuesday of every month. It's up to you. You're your own boss. Nobody is telling you to do this podcast. When you start out, you can go and record the podcast in your own time, any time of day, but you do upload it to Spotify, etc., at a set time so people know it's there. So it's going to be available from. So rather than going live at, it's available on Spotify from 8 o'clock tonight. Okay, coming up down here. Okay, and I'm going to put this full screen now. And let me go here. Okay, so I'm still here. And we're going on engagement beyond the episode. You really do have the ability. You do have the ability to build something, to build a brand, to build a tribe with a podcast. And if you do, everyone who subscribes to your podcast becomes a listener and could down the road become a customer. So subscribers are priceless. There is no price you can put on. Everyone is important. And if you start a community to go with your broadcast, then people can join that community, can talk to you. I mentioned earlier Susie Quattro. I'll do it for the second time. Susie's got a community on Facebook so that people can go to her gigs, can buy the CDs, can listen to MP3s, and they can actually chat with Susie. Not live, but you can chat with Susie. So subscribers are important. Give them something extra. Okay, and what you give them is either something free, right? And the other thing is, don't be afraid. If I'm just going to stop sharing this, and this should adjust in a second. Don't be afraid to put a call to action at the end of your podcast. As I said earlier, it could just be as simple as this is a freebie to download. Yeah, it's a marketing medium. Podcasting is, for all the reasons we gave earlier, but it's also a way to get known. And the other thing is, this is, and I'm going to put this full screen now. Okay. Just like live video, number 11, what you should be aiming to do is continuous improvement. To improve the quality of your broadcast, to change your microphone, to basically go with the professional outfit to record your podcast. I know people who've had, that's just reminded me, there are agencies which will do it all for you. I'll come back to those on a future broadcast. And finally, we have the live podcast checklist. Now, this fits in. The live podcast checklist fits in with what I'm doing today. The live podcast checklist is from OneStream Live, and after I finish this broadcast, I'll put a link in to the podcast. It's a PDF, and it covers everything I've talked about today, and also things that I've not talked about today. It's very handy to have it all in one PDF. The ins and outs of podcasting, how to prepare, what to do when you're live, what to do afterwards, all in the one, what's it called? Infographic. Yeah, blimey, the word came to me. Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to screen share again. So just give me a moment. Let's go to screen share. And that's the hand. I hit the wrong button. And let's go to screen share and go to real screen share. I don't know whether you noticed or not, but I had a helper in today's broadcast. And the helper is right, okay. I don't know. I've got a message on screen then. I can't actually see it. And I'm going to, it's coming now. Okay, so you've been listening to podcast hacks to hook listeners. This has been Stephen live from Wiltshire in England. I want to say a big thank you, if I can do this. Okay. I'm going to do this. I want to say a big thank you for actually watching me live today. I've enjoyed your company. Thank you to Alec. Thanks to everybody who's commented. Enjoy the rest of your day. Before I go, I'm just going to bring this on screen and go down here and remove that from screen. And we're just going to run through again. Finally, why do people listen to podcasts? And I'm going to add that to stream, and I'm going to put it full screen. People listen to podcasts because, okay, we listen to podcasts. Okay, I've broken the system. I'm going to stop sharing and hopefully be able to bring everything back to me. Okay. I want to say a big thank you for watching live today. If you've got this far on the replay, thank you. I'm back again next week, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. in the UK, from Wiltshire in England. Have a great week. Bye for now.